Welcome to another edition of the Sim Racing Garage. I'm Barry Rowland, and in this episode, we're going to be reviewing the SMZ1 open wheel race wheel from Sam Maxwell Customs, which is actually a joint effort between Sam Maxwell and Russell Hodgson over at Z1 Dashboards. They've taken a Z1 dashboard and integrated it into one of Sam's great F1 style wheels. This promises to deliver a great sim racing experience because the wheel is fantastic. As we know, Sam builds great wheels, and combined with Russell's Z1 dashboard, this wheel has a lot of potential. How much? Well, let's find out. So now let's take a closer look at the wheel itself. First off, you can tell this is a busy wheel. When I first saw it, I said, my God, that has got a lot of switches and buttons on it. No less than 10 knitters, 6 rotaries, and 4 three-way rocker switches. And of course, we've got the excellent Z1 dashboard that has the touchscreen on it. This is the touchscreen version of it. So that's like a $250 screen that you buy from Russell if you don't buy just the software and use it on your computer. So this wheel is packing some goodies here. Now the knitter buttons feel great, and I knew they would because I always like the way these things feel. They've got the shields on them, little plastic pieces there, or metal actually, that shield the button from going too far, and you don't have to worry about the button hitting anything. We've got the rotaries, which gets some nice audible clicks there when you're turning them, and of course the switches. All this stuff feels heavy duty, well built, built to stand up to a lot of abuse. And this wheel's been through a lot of abuse already, and it's doing quite well actually. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We also have 15 LEDs across the top. And of course, because it is a Z1 dashboard, we can program these LEDs to do anything we want as far as RPM ranges. We can block off a section for DRS if we're running an F1 car. So there's, again, the Z1 dashboard software, that stuff, the waters run deep with that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Also, the construction here, this is a solid piece of carbon fiber that is a 1/4 inch thick. There's no flex whatsoever to this wheel. And even guys that are running the heavy duty direct drive force feedback systems won't have any problems with this wheel feeling like it's flexing. It's just solid as a rock. And I have the Sim Steering version 2 system on my rig, of course, and I tell you, it felt great there. So no flex at all. And we also have some urethane molded handles on here, which feel great. And again, they look good. I didn't think they would look this good, considering how much use they've been through before they ever got to the Sim Racing Garage. Some of you guys may have seen some of the reviews or videos of guys driving this wheel. And like I said, I'm one of the last guys to get my hands on it. Now, on the back here, we can see that there's a plastic. Let me actually unplug the USB, and we'll stash that until we're ready to talk about it again. On the back, we have not 2, but 4 paddles. 2, of course, are shifter paddles, and these are the excellent Design Works, Precision Design Works actually, shifters that I actually did a review on a while back, and I really like these. They do a great job with these. These are nice heavy duty units. You're never going to wear one of these out. The only thing that possibly could go wrong was maybe the switch itself in there might go bad, but easy enough to replace one of those if it does. Mounted to these shifters is a very nice thick piece of carbon fiber. Trying to show you how thick that is right there. And it has multiple holes mounting, so you can mount a little bit left to the right, maybe a 1/4 inch either way, to satisfy the reach of most people. On the bottom, we had these analog switches, or paddles. Let's get a good look at it there. Very smooth, doesn't make any noise at all, unlike the shifters, which are loud enough, by the way, to wake the dead. No, just kidding. They're loud enough that you probably, if you race in the room next to somebody sleeping in another room, you might not get away with it because they are kind of loud. But I don't have to worry about it here in the Sim Racing Garage, of course. Now, these analog paddles are programmable as a primary or secondary clutch. You can use one as a throttle or use the other one as a brake, so you don't have to use pedals to drive if you wanted to do that. I have to admit, I usually didn't use them. I was using the shifters most of the time, but it is nice to know that they're there, and I did play with them and make sure they worked, of course. But nice to know they're there if I want to add more features to the way I'm driving a certain car, and it does support this kind of thing, then it's great to have them there already. Of course, we have a Q1r Quick-Release. This is a fantastic quick release, and hands down, I don't care what anybody says, the best quick release for sim racing, and probably a regular racing wheel too if you don't need electronic pass-through. The thing just does not get any slop in it. I don't care how long you use it. And I've been using my pair for a couple of years now, and no problems whatsoever. I just love that thing. And of course, it's kind of heavy though, so it does add heft to the actual wheel itself. Now, this wheel is available rather with other quick releases. You can get the AccuForce quick release. You can get, well, just about any quick release you want, and Sam will put it on there for you. And this is a 70mm hole pattern, so if you want to change it out to something different, you could. Of course, you'll have to, there's like 6 screws here. The shifter's hiding one of them. There they are. 3 on each side, 6 screws to pull the housing apart. I'm not going to take this apart because Sam needs it to show to somebody else to use for demo, and I would hate to take this apart and have something wrong with it and then ship it back to Sam, and he's kind of work on it before he can send it off to the next guy. So we'll just leave that alone for now anyway. So other than that, it just feels great in your hands. The grips actually fit my hands. It's kind of neat because they've got this, if you look at it, it's got a big a raised part behind the actual spoke here and on the tops. So it just kind of, you can wrap your fingers around it and easily reach all the pedals. I didn't have any problems with the clutch or the shifters. And of course, there is some adjustability because you can see the holes in the paddles themselves. So we can actually take them and adjust them. So it fit my hands. Also, a couple of bigger guys that came over and looked at this wheel, it fit their hands also. And nobody ever complained about the fit of this grip. So Sam, hats off. It looks like he's found the magic spot or sweet spot where just about anybody can use this wheel. At least, you know, the guys that I've used it with. So anyway, let's talk a little bit more about the Z1 Dash. Again, it's very programmable. Let me go ahead and plug it back in while we're talking about it. It's very programmable. Let's get me tangled up in my cord here. There's many dashes available. There are other wheels that have, well, just a few buttons, and I wonder about those wheels that don't have but a few buttons. How much programming you can do? Well, there are only a few buttons, so there's only a few things you can do there. And here we have multiple buttons, and all of these can be used to do things on this Z1 dashboard that's in here. And also, there's multiple screens. You can run 6 screens at once, and I'm going to show you some video of me, the way I had it mapped up to some rocker switch here, so I could switch between the screens at will and show you the different screens that are available, like track maps and things like that. Probably some stuff that you guys have already seen before if you're interested in the Z1 dashboard, but I'm going to go ahead and show it anyway because I think it's very cool when you have it on and it's running. I wasn't quite sure. I was kind of not committed to really like this wheel until I got it in my hands, and I've actually been using it for a while, and it really grows on you. It really does. So anyway, once we get done with this part, we're going to go and show you, or show me, switching through some screens and describing what the screens are doing and things like that. And you have to do that in the sim, so we'll do that in a live session in the sim. And is there anything else I want to talk about here? I guess that's it. It's just, when you have this wheel and you're using it, it's just a well thought out package. And of course, Russell and Sam, hats off to the guys for coming together to actually build something like this, because nothing like this really exists anywhere else. Yeah, there's other wheels that have paddles, and they got analog paddles for clutches, and they might have a screen that has maybe 1 screen or maybe 2 screens, but that's it. This thing is just a lot more than that. And some of those wheels that I'm talking about cost more than this thing does. So anyway, let's go ahead and get to the actual screens that you can switch through. We'll take a look at that real quick, and then we'll go and do some driving, show me using the screens and driving the Renault 2.0 liter car, open wheel car, and then we'll get to our final thoughts. So let's take a look at the wheel when it's in action, and you'll see me driving it. I'll do a video section on that, but I just want to show you a close-up of the different screens available and the power of this Z1 dashboard software integrated with this wheel. First, of course, we have a regular dash of a car, and this is the Renault 2.0 open wheel car that I've been using it on. And the cool thing you can do about with this is you can actually map any switches to do anything you want. I've matched this one over here, or mapped this one over here to actually toggle through different dashboards. And Here's one that I use a lot. It's the racetrack one. Not because I don't know what the track looks like. This is a Mola, by the way. It's to keep track where all the cars are. So I'm going to try to get this a little closer here where we can see it without the lights glaring on it. And of course you can see all the cars going around the track here. And I'm the red dot up here. And there's some other dots that you'll see, a purple and a green. I'm not sure how well they're going to show up here because the flickering screen that you're going to see, of course it doesn't flicker in real time, but my camera causes it to flicker. But these other dots you see, a purple, it's telling me if I went into the pits now, who's behind me, who's in front of me, and even where I would be coming out as far as in front of what car if I went in and did a pit stop. Very cool stuff. And of course we have our driver positions over here, lap times and things like that going on. And we can also go into the lap timing and also showing us as far as how much fuel we're using, all that information. I can switch over here to see the tire temperatures. Unfortunately, right now iRacing is not showing live tire temperatures, so you don't see any deviation in my tires here. Also, there's a telemetry screen, very cool. You can actually see what's going on as far as your braking and shifting. And when you're in the pits, there's a pit screen that shows you average fuel used per lap and all that kind of stuff. And you can even customize the little words that you get up there. I just put Sim Racing Garage, but you can put anything you want to. And then of course we'll cycle back to the other dashboard again. And you can change any of this stuff. You can map any of the buttons to do different things. You can change around. You can actually select things on the screens and increment them based on what you're trying to do. The waters run deep, again, with this Z1 dashboard software. But integrating it into this wheel with all these different screens is very cool. There's other wheels that have screens on them, but they might have one or two screens and that's it. But you've got, and I'm just showing you a little bit of what you can do here. You've got a lot of different things you can do with this. So I really do like it as far as that's concerned. So next we'll just show a quick video of me driving the wheel. And it's not much to see, but I'm using the screens as I'm driving the wheel in the Mola with the Renault 2.0. So we'll get to that next. Okay, so here we are in the Renault 2.0 liter Formula car. And first I thought I'd just talk a little bit about the steering wheel when you have it in hand, while there's two other Renault 2.0s hot on my tail here. And first off is the grips. And if you saw the segment where I was taking a closer look at the wheel, you know that the grips have kind of an L shape to them on the back. The front and sides are nice and well rounded and fit your palm of your hand very well, but the back is kind of hollowed out into like an L shape that allows you to curl your fingers around, and it really feels good. It's got a really good feel to it. And not only that, but being the urethane rubber, you really don't have to use gloves with this wheel, but I've always used gloves anyway from habit of using my suede wheels. But again, in hand, this wheel really feels different than other formula type wheels that I've had. Usually they're all the way, they're not hollowed out in the back like these are, and they can feel fat in your hands. So also the buttons and the shifters are all easy to reach. Everything is just naturally there for my fingers. These Precision Design Works shifters work flawlessly, just like the ones that I reviewed before a while back. No complaints here. Again, ergonomics, all the switches available to you, and I'm not even using half the switches here, to be honest. I'm trying to figure out things to use the switches for, but I'm sure I will, for like talking and reducing chat volume and things like that with the dials. So in hand, no complaints. It's a great wheel to be able to use, and you could use this for other cars also, not just the formula cars or open wheel cars, as the two guys behind me, looks like they're taking each other out there. Oops. So now let's talk a little bit about the power of the Z1 dashboard and what you can do with this. And I'm just going to brush a little bit on the surface here, and you can see now I'm in the car and I'm actually going to go through some screens that I have set up. Here's a telemetry screen, which typically you wouldn't use this racing, of course, but it's just something I wanted to show you guys that it was there, so you could use it if you wanted to see what your shift points were, your brake points were, as far as the corner you just went through, and you did better on the corner than you had before. Even though you pretty much know what you're doing anyway in your hand, but it's nice to be able to see it verified there. Here we're on the timing and scoring screen, and of course that's something that I use a lot. to find out where I am. Even though in iRacing, which we're using right now, you can use the black boxes for the same thing. It's a little bit easier to see it right in front of your face. Here I'm on the actual track map, and this shows where everybody on the track is and how it's relative to where I am, which is, again, very useful information. If I'm heading for the pit, I can see on this track map where I'm going to be when I come out of the pit, which is it's just a lot of information that's available to you right now in real time. And I could be running an instance of that up on my fourth monitor also, but it's nice to be able to just look down the wheel and see it. And here I'm just switching through all of them, all of the screens that I have programmed, just to once again to show you everything that I've done with it. And you can see the screen is actually flashing along with the LEDs. I've had that set up that way on purpose. And again, this is a fun thing to use, and we'll just go ahead and get to the final thoughts now. Final thoughts on the SMZ1 F1 racing wheel from Sam Maxwell and Russell Hodgson. This is a joint venture between those two guys that came together as a synergy, if you will, to develop a fantastic piece of equipment here for sim racing. It has a lot more to offer than at first you would think. Now, we know the Z1 dashboard, the software itself, again, it's very deep waters. It does a lot of different things. And we know that Sam Maxwell has been making fantastic wheels for a long, long time. I've known him for a while as far as building the wheels and building wheels for me, and he's always done a great job, and that, actually, I think he stepped it up with this wheel. The build quality is fantastic. Everything is heavy duty, almost commercial-like. Everything that they thought out as far as the hardware he was going to use, from the buttons to the shifters, even to the quick release, is just all top-notch, top-flight stuff. The Z1 dashboard is the expensive $250 one that is touchscreen, that you can even have your racing gloves on and use the touchscreen. But here we were using it with the switches, and there's so many switches, so much you can do with this wheel. It's a very versatile piece of sim racing equipment. It's also a very expensive piece of sim racing equipment. And only you can decide whether or not you could lay down that kind of money for a wheel like this. But if you have the money to do it, then I would recommend that you do. It's just, if you're interested in this kind of wheel, of course that has to apply also. You can use it for just about any open wheel car. Well, for other cars too, if you want to. It's up to you. But it just does so many things. It gives you so much information, and you keep track of so much of what you're doing with this wheel in this package that it's pretty amazing, actually. Again, I think I said before in the review, when I first saw it, I was going, wow, you know, that's a lot of buttons. He put the Z1 dash in there. Wow, that looks like a very busy piece of equipment and something that might be difficult to figure out. But the more I used it, the more I liked it, and the more I was able to customize it to my own needs. There's really not much else to say about this wheel. It's just a fantastic wheel. Yeah, it costs a lot of money, but there's other wheels that cost a lot of money out there too that really don't do what this one does. This wheel, I feel like, is unique in its own class. Until some other manufacturers come up with something like this, it can do so much. Again, the synergy between the Z1 dashboard and this wheel is just going to be very hard to beat at even more than what this one cost. I enjoyed using it. I'm going to hate sending it back to Sam Maxwell. Would I ever buy a wheel like this? You know, I don't know. I really like it. I'm probably going to miss it when it's gone. But am I got the funds to just go ahead and plunk down for one of these wheels? I don't know yet. Maybe I can sell some other things. But if you have the kind of income that you feel like you can use for buying a wheel like this, then I would suggest you won't be disappointed with this wheel. Once you use it and you spend some time with it and get to know it, it really becomes like an extension of what you're thinking about and what's going on with your racing session. Well, I guess that's about it. Again, I'm going to miss this wheel when it's gone, but everything has to come to an end, it seems. I'm Barry Rowland, and thanks again for watching the Sim Racing Garage channel.